for the opening statements to Richard Dealtree.
Hello everyone. I'd like to just say that this is a special edition of our webinar on the evolution of corporate university applications. We're privileged to have with us today George Grebe, who I've known for over 10 years now, and I think that you will find what he has to say, and perhaps some of my concluding remarks, most helpful in fact developing very successful corporate university applications in the future. Thank you very much for attending, and here I pass you over to George to give you his experience at NOCA.
Yes, thank you very much, Richard, and thank you for all of you participating in this webinar. I'm truly excited to be allowed to take your time sharing some of my thoughts and what some of our experiences and works in Denmark with corporate academies, as we normally call it. You may use the word corporate university in your background, but for us it's words we use in the same manner. I'm very excited to be able to be in here, and Richard mentioned that we have known each other, Richard and myself, for about 10 years. Just very shortly, and the reason that I met Richard is that back in 2002 we were a couple of HR directors from different companies in Denmark who felt that one of the, you could say, business drivers could be a corporate academy. Having had a dialogue with a professor from the Copenhagen Business School, we decided to run a special, you could say, event where we invited different companies and also Professor Richard Dealtree to be with us for sharing, you could say, practices and knowledge about corporate universities. And it was during that conference, and Richard and I met each other, and then we have some years later been in much closer contact, developing an Econet blueprint concerning corporate universities. And that's of course why that I'm very pleased to still be connected to Richard and also to participate in this conference. What actually happened in Denmark and what I'm going to bring to the floor here today, you could say, is practical examples on developing corporate academies, of course, from Denmark. I know Denmark is not the center of the world, and our companies are definitely not the center of the companies in the world, but still some of our experiences may be of help to you. First of all, going back to 2002, we were some companies after the conference we had at the CBS school who actually felt a good idea or a need to go together and then join an association of corporate academies. And that is the reason for the word, or our name, Network of Corporate Academies. On the screen now you can see some of the member companies who actually decided to join in this organization. It was defense, it was a big pumping company in Denmark, it was a financial institution, FLSmidth being the world's biggest supplier of cement factories, Dandy, the chewing gum factory, and another university from Denmark joining forces to say that let's make an association where we can share best practice. We decided that this should be a not-for-profit organization created by the members, and we would all be eager to try drive an association where we could get benefit for all the members. But what was our background, or why did we really feel a need, or that it was a good idea to have an association? Well, actually, we felt that most of us coming from companies, most of us being HR directors, that of course we could easily meet and join forces and have a good dialogue with each other. But we, however, felt the need to have research with us. We felt sharing of best practice is not, you could say, the only way to get good ideas. We we felt that having research close to us would be of value. And as you saw from the previous slide, we have the two universities and researchers joining in. So that was one of the reasons for doing this. The way we wanted to do this was also really to secure that we as members were focusing on business strategy and HR strategy, and trying to see how we actually could align these by inspiring each other during meetings, seminars, and different contacts between us. And again, to secure that when we were sitting together and having practice, practical sharing, that we had the research people with us, and that really formed these circles being on your screen right now, that we really tried to develop and secure that we had this sharing of knowledge from one company to another company, but also again from research to practice. But the main focus being how can we secure that the HR strategy, our learning and development strategy is really aligned with the business strategy. Of course, one of the reasons for this was that we felt that there might be many low-hanging fruits that we really could take advantage of. Really, again, just sharing with each other what we do and what we learned and what our challenges are in developing our corporate academies. We also felt, just like Eve and Adam in the Paradise, when they took a bite of the apple, they certainly saw the world in a different manner. They saw new clarity. They saw each other in a completely different manner, and that is really what we are hoping in an association like NOCA, that being together, that we can give each other apples where we see better into, you could say, the true benefit of corporate academies. And after having formed that association, I'm very pleased to say that over the years, these 9 years which has elapsed, that we now have the 65, a little bit proud to say, I feel the top 65 companies in Denmark as members in our network of corporate academies. Some of you may know, some of them you don't know, some of you may from time to time, hopefully enjoy a Danish beer, either from Tuborg or Carlsberg, also being one of our members. Here you have the logos of most of the companies being part of our organization. But when we have meetings, when we have dialogue, and when we really are working together in a network organization like NOCA, it is of course really to secure that we are very good and really really can work together in securing that we really know what we're aiming at. What is it that we are aiming at when we talk use the word academy? Again, I would like to say the only, well, maybe not the only, but of course the most important is really to improve the bottom line, or you could say, put other words to it, to secure that we obtain the business goals. That is really why we're here. And that's why we all need to start with this alignment between business and the HR strategy, and connected to that, the strategy for our academy. There are other reasons why an academy could be present and really can move again on the bottom line and develop hopefully the bottom line. And I have listed a couple of sentences here where I hope that some of your efforts also fall into these phrases I've been putting here. Of course, it's is the development of the skills, the competences, which is a tool for improving the business, the obtainment of the business goals. But also that we, with an academy, really are not only focusing on giving training and development, but really are focusing on achieving persons who actually act in a different manner when they've been through our training programs. What we would like is really to, sorry, I'll tell you, this practice again. What we see and what we're trying to develop in Denmark is that whenever we talk, whenever we walk and work with corporate academies, that we do it also, not also, but from the strategical point of view, the business strategy. That we really have a focused curriculum being built in order to obtain and secure the achievement of the business strategy. That we have, you could say, define what are the key important areas that we are aiming at with our corporate academy. And that's why a corporate academy is not just a training center or whatever you may call it. No, it's really something which is connected to the strategy. Quite often we will see corporate academies, for example, as securing the talent management, the pipeline of your talent. It could be that the corporate academy is focused on your leadership development programs. Again, hopefully, if you run leadership development programs, that they are connected to your business strategy. Sorry, I'm having a little practical problem here with the screen. Just a moment, please. I hope you can see it all right now. Together in Denmark with the companies, but also with the researchers, we have been focusing on some of the things which we think is important and which you need to develop attention to. And I'm very pleased to say that during the work we did together with Richard and the team under the name Econet, I'm very pleased to say that we made this blueprint where we tried to figure, or not to figure, but we tried to focus on areas which is of true importance in developing your academy. It might, for example, be the governance. I mean, how do you actually see that the businesses, that the academy is connected to your business? How do you secure that the academy is really being known internally but also externally? How's that connection? How do you manage your academy? How do you secure that the development processes really are taking good place in a manner where people, when they are back, when they are, you could say, in their development process, that they really develop different competences which can be seen in practice. How can the learning be made in a manner which is fitted well into your organizational structure, your global acting? For example, how can we secure that distance is not a problem when we talk about learning and development? Whether it means that you have to bring people into a physical building, or it is because you use e-learning systems or other ways and means in order to secure your development. When we discuss and work in Noka with different companies, and it's a true resource in Noka are the different companies. It's their competence which we are trying to share between all companies, and again to have that in dialogue with research people in Denmark. And that's why we say that we are not more intelligent than anybody else, but to realize that we all can learn from each other, and really securing that we, for example, take advantage of a blueprint or any other means in your development is, you could say, one of the key drivers in our network organization. Coming back to this slide, that is again really the way we try to have everything in play, where we are organizing meetings, development tours or study tours, where we visit business schools throughout the world. We visit different companies throughout the world. But again, coming back, we try to secure that this knowledge sharing from the companies really is being developed into something which is focused on, again, securing that these two here are working well and are aligned, achieving the business goal. To be a little bit more precise on how we actually try to secure this when we are in dialogue with each other, we feel that one way to illustrate a way to organize your academy would be to secure that you at least have these 5 steps or 5 pillars in your academy. First of all, on your left, the business strategy. What is it that you are aiming for? Really to secure that you really derive from your business strategy the goals, the visions for a corporate university. I mean, if you can't see that link between these 2 pillars, forget about it. Because then you're doing training for the sake of the training, not for the sake of the business strategy. And when you have realized what is it that we actually want from our corporate university, then you need to secure that you have a good business case. I mean, all investments in companies needs to be, you could say, justified. What is really the reasons why we should invest X million pounds or euros or crowns or whatever we call it? What is the reason and what is the business case? What is it that we hopefully get out of this? And then next step, how are you actually going to secure that in practice? What are the development and learning tools and methods and programs that you're going to run? Are they really fitted, again, to secure that you aim at securing the business strategy? How do you organize your programs when your company people are spread out through the whole world? I mean, is it e-learning, is it blended learning, or is it still that you bring all the people to London or to Munich or wherever you're situated, and then you secure them a heavy punch for a week or 2? Really try and secure that you know how you do this and that you are really best in class in using the tools. One academy with one of the big companies in Denmark, they closed for 1 year due to the financial crisis. May 2009, for example, they closed and said, now we close our academy. They invested millions and millions of pounds in the building. But said we close it at least for 1 year. Then they started to develop e-learning and all our development activities. And then after 1 year, they reopened the academy, but with a completely different way to look on learning and development. And then finally, what are the impacts? What is it that we're aiming for? And how do we measure what we actually hope to achieve? How is the link between this pillar here and again the business strategy? And again, that means that the persons who actually have been a part of our programs, that they are changing the way they act and the way they perform because they've been through our corporate academy. And if you can't justify the sequence between these 5 pillars, then I would say, how can you justify your academy? This means, to come to an end, that every academy needs to be defined and made by you, and therefore I would say that every academy needs to be unique, serving the purposes in your business. There's no standard recipe. There's not just one recipe how to make a good academy, a good university. Or you could say the standard recipe is that you are really defining the business strategy, the link to the corporate academy, and really to secure these 5 pillars I just showed on the previous slide. And with that, I will wish you the best of luck in your journey in developing your academies wherever you are. And thank you for listening. I have to attend another meeting shortly, but I would be truly delighted if some of you had any questions to me where I will have the possibility to email you back. Richard, I'm pleased to hand over to you now.
Thank you very much indeed, George. That was really a very comprehensive presentation on the evolution of NOCA and the importance of having a coordinating body to share best practice and to share the issues that the evolutionary process that has taken place with corporate universities. In my presentation here, what I would like to do is bring up each slide for you to spend just a few seconds reading, and then I'll make some comments in relation to that. This gives you an opportunity to digest the notes that I've prepared for you. With regard to this first point here, I think that NOCA, as you've just heard, is an excellent illustration of the developments that are going on, where you've got 60+ companies, in fact, forging ahead with intensive new learning and knowledge application in their businesses. We also see this in GeoCure. We have contacts worldwide now, and some people are in fact entering into the idea of corporate universities. Other people are looking to renew what they're doing, and so on. There's a widespread international activity looking at the importance of new learning and knowledge and developing skills in its application and not just digesting it. The next factor, we have corporate universities becoming an integral part of corporate mainstream development processes of organization. This is quite true. As we move into a real-time dimension, aided by communication and IT infrastructure and resources, the potential for doing things and developing instantly rather than retrospectively with information that is not always reliable, the corporate university thinking and concept is becoming part of the core mainstream development processes. The comment here, the stranglehold of stereotype management models and copycat development is fast disappearing. Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for that. We see too many corporate universities that are being founded on old management practices and don't really capture the dynamic of intensive corporate learning in its application. The widespread growing recognition that each corporate university should be different. How could it be any different to that? Every company is different in its structure, its situation and its circumstances, and if we are to act in real time, then in fact we've got to consider processes that will achieve the right solution for that particular company. This particular comment here takes me back a long time, over practically a decade since I was first involved with Copenhagen Business School, when I was invited to go along and do a presentation with regard to what we were seeing with regard to the future of business, integrated business and people development. And it was from that that the idea of a national organization of corporate academies came into being, and I was only too pleased to be involved in that at that time. It also demonstrated to me the enthusiasm and intellectual capability that there is in Denmark for, in fact, developing such capabilities. And as you've already seen, the companies there have enormous potential, and most of their members are worldwide and prosperous and in fact into new technologies on a very wide scale. So we began to look for how you could make this transition to a new age of management thinking. And one of the schematic diagrams that we used was this one here. It shows, in fact, the traditional management approach, where we have a very highly structured organization, almost as a machine, which I can remember from my younger days when people were encouraged not to do too much thinking. And then we moved on to the social capital age, where the degree of behavioral change was encouraged, and right through to today, when organizations are looking at the organization as a brain. The challenge there is using the top dimension. The fit with most people's organizational experience when the organization is moving in this direction is low. And also the question of adequacy of structural situation, that is also low. The demands associated with that is a high degree of behavioral change is required in the organization, because the rate of change, in fact, is promoting this particular approach to development. We are increasingly moving into the real-time development dimension, and that is the practical reality of today for most organizations. So, what was our answer to meeting these challenges? Well, we asked this chap Leonardo da Vinci to help us to solve this problem. There's a picture of him here. And what we did, we applied and received 500 million of euros to help us, 500,000 I should say. The EC has never been that generous to think in terms of million. 500,000 euros to, in fact, to investigate what is happening out there in companies. You know, what are the innovations that are taking place? And we thought that if we took on the clothes of Leonardo da Vinci and his characteristics, perhaps that would help us to, in fact, to be creative and find solutions. We looked at how he would have approached the solution finding and take on those attributes. Characteristics of Renaissance man: from an apostle of experience, reaching out to new heights of scientific and artistic achievement. See how he combines scientific and artistic achievement. And I think this is one area in management which is sadly lacking, the artistic component, giving expression to situations in different ways. He was a visionary, seeing beyond the ordinary. Again, is this a characteristic that we can use ourselves? Can we take it up? And if we can't, are there people around us who are good at that? To be an artist, a draftsman, a sculptor, an architect and an engineer, in fact, to bring all these stages of the process together in fact to deliver a real outcome. The spirit of scientific inquiry, I think in modern terms, you know, this is about finding out what we don't know. And the opportunity to do that is absolutely immense with regard to the World Wide Web, the Internet, and in fact the free information which is out there. Not everybody's psychometric profile is that of an innovator. So in fact, if we don't fall into that category when we've done our learning styles profile, perhaps when we're putting our team together, we better make sure that we've got people who can deal with all the phases of learning and development. He was said to be centuries ahead of his time. Perhaps we need to think ahead. What will the future of management look like? Are we moving in the right direction in the short term? Increasing multidisciplinary capabilities. The corporate university concept, management concept, is very much about combined disciplines and being able to integrate that thinking. This is most important, and I noticed some of the leading business schools, particularly in the USA, are moving away from subject-based teaching, if I can call it that, more into project-based learning and development. Social process organizer, elaborate court festivals. I think this indicates, in fact, that the social dimension of the new thinking is important, and we see this, in fact, through the new networking arrangements, through mobiles, etc. We should do more of this, and perhaps we should have the opportunity to celebrate what we achieve and not be too reticent about doing that, and involve as many people as possible. The very simplistic model that I introduced in the early days on a visit to Copenhagen was, in fact, to think about the question of the corporate university as an enabling vehicle or management concept to think about things for the future and how we can grapple with the more knowledge and learning intensive environment. We've looked at the prospect of perhaps there is an educational model beyond what we knew at that time to work well for companies. We also knew that some of these models were struggling, in fact, to deliver the talent and retain the talent and improve the performance of the business with the traditional models. So we were alerting ourselves to this. The other side of the learner gate, we started to cast what the dynamics were, in fact, that would influence the new model. The first one, learning. I've been involved in so many different practices in learning, action learning, and so on, e-learning, that deciding on what type of learning and understanding the capabilities of each channel of learning is very important, because that has different impacts even on the traditional models. Strategic fit is a difficult one to grapple with. We all have the typical strategic management models of looking at analysis, diagnostics, planning and implementation. And when that circle of events, that cycle of events, in fact is occurring almost every minute of every day, of every week, of every month, we've got to be aware that this is a dynamic that doesn't stand still, and we fit information into these blocks. We've got to think dynamically with that particular subject. Ownership of the development is a very, very interesting area. So many times we see that there is no real home for the corporate university. Does it belong in HR? Does it belong in operations? Does it belong in finance? And so on. Where does it belong in the company? There isn't a clear organizational position for it, and perhaps there shouldn't be. Perhaps it should be holistic. Perhaps it should be that it's attached to everyone and part of all our employees. Naming, as George has already mentioned, there are many different names that go with the corporate university management concept: schools of management, academies, and in fact in our area we work with SME clusters, which is largely based on bringing together small and medium-sized companies in the same way that you would bring together in a looser framework than you would with the divisions that are widespread in companies. Business-led, certainly. Business-led learning and development is key to the success of corporate university, and envisioning what that learning should be in relation to the business-led vision and mission is most important. Intellectual equity is something that as someone who was involved in corporate mergers and acquisitions, it was in fact the goodwill element in the value of companies, and it was very interesting to see in fact that the generative strands in this through LearnerGate here would have an impact on shareholder value in one way or another. So results-based impacting on intellectual equity and its quantity within the total value of the company, most important. Management, we recognise that there is a multidisciplinary style of management that's required with leadership and other forward-looking capabilities. So we look for the process that would allow us to assemble these into some sort of manageable order without being prescriptive. We decided early on that prescriptive management, schematics and so on would not work. We needed something which was an open process to manage these particular dynamics. So how to manage these diverse elements of development and operational size of businesses? We thought broadly about this and recognized the evolutionary process containing the dynamics of corporate university process. And at this stage, the corporate university is a management concept, not as a building, not as a management schematic, not as a model, but as a concept emerged as the best way of tackling this problem of transition to learning intensive and knowledge intensive management. The first area was assimilation, take in and understand the corporate university, absorb its ability and digest in terms of your local situation. Consider cultural effects. It seems an odd thing to say that one has to emphasize this point, but if I put it this way, that you wouldn't attempt to take an MBA to university without having the course and undertaking the study to begin with. And that is the essence of corporate university. It is a learning curve, and we have to follow that learning curve. One moment, please. Would you go out there and... Hello? Sorry about that. I think somebody was thinking they had to start building a corporate university straight away. Okay, let's move on. Explication, analyze and develop the corporate university concept in detail to reveal its full potential. In other words, it's all part of the learning curve. It's familiarization with the challenges and possibilities. An important element in this process is to configure what is required in relation to local circumstances and situation. But the process of doing this should be flexible enough to reconfigure as things move forward and circumstances change. I must apologize for the background noise here. We are trying to do something about it. So on my slide here, how do we manage the impact of new learning and knowledge-intensive business environment exacerbated by continuous development in CIT technologies and networks? What would be the effect on company organization structure and its engagement relationship with competitors? This is where we have developed a range of resources at GIACUA, in fact, to help companies move in this direction. Every solution will be unique. There is absolutely no doubt about that. We've seen that in NOCA, and we're also seeing it in other parts of the world. Do not be prescriptive. Be prepared to catalyze with a process that brings together all the ideas about what is essential for the company. Be prepared to create solutions. Be prepared to configure. Each outcome will be different, and what we would like to observe is that you'll be able to celebrate your unique outcomes for the benefits of all stakeholders. We will continue to evolve, but I think that we have now reached a stage, and in fact I know from the response that we get from GIACUA members that in fact they are creating solutions that work for them today and will work in the future by having open processes. That's the end of my presentation. I do apologize for the background noises here. Totally unpredictable, and a degree of enthusiasm by our office builders. Okay, thank you very much indeed. I look forward to getting questions, and perhaps Martin, you could help us with that.
Thanks very much, Richard. It's a very insightful presentation there. Just to members of the audience, if you do have any questions, there's a couple of ways we can go about this. First, it's possible to pose your questions in the questions field and type them in. However, if there is anybody that is linked up to a headset and microphone, we can even have an audible question either via your telephones or microphones. At the moment, I don't see any questions lined up, but what I will do is just give you all a couple of minutes if you do have any questions for Richard or even for George that George can get back to you with. We'll give you a couple of minutes to perhaps enter some of those. Whilst we're waiting for the questions as well, I'd just like to add, if there's anybody that's joined the presentations late today, the presentations are available to be able to watch at your own will. For those that have registered and obviously can't make it all, they will be sent automatically. However, the recordings of the presentations will be available both on the GIACUA website and on the Forward Networking website pretty shortly. Richard, it seems we don't have any questions so far. I'm sure that all of you, if you have something in the future that may come up, you've got Richard's contact details. and if not, you can actually see on the screen at the moment the URL for the website, which has his details there. Richard, I don't know if you've got any final words that you'd like to add, and before we close the webinar.
I think I would just round off by saying that having travelled the history of corporate universities now for going back over 50 or 60 years, I think that it's most important that the developments that we're now talking about come to fruition in companies if businesses want to stay at the forefront of their business sectors. And in fact, what we are seeing that this is becoming an increasingly important statement in company reports to their shareholders about how they are in fact keeping pace with modern thinking or up-to-date thinking and knowledge and what they're doing about it. It's not something which is just a passing comment. It's a major part of their strategic statement. Okay, once again I'd like to thank you all for attending. Please do contact us on any questions that you may have. There are reference links on the bottom of the pages which I've been using, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Richard, we do actually have a hand raised here from one member of the audience. Catherine, first of all, I'm going to see if I can bring you on audibly. I don't know if you're using a microphone or not, but can you hear us, Catherine?
Hi.
Hello there.
Good afternoon. Yeah. Just want to know what's the attendance today?
Hello, yes?
Hello. I just want to know how many people are attending this meeting.
Well, at the moment, how many people are attending the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've had people that are coming and going. I think we've had an average at any time of about 23, 24. However, some people came earlier and have left. We have a number of people that have actually registered, but because they're in different time zones, obviously can't make it, but they get the recordings automatically as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
This is just for curiosity sake.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think at the moment, just as a general comment, we have more than 3,000 companies who are in contact with us one way or another, either about membership or specific aspects of our resources which they wish to use.
Okay, is there any other final questions before we close off for the day? I don't think so. Well, Richard, I'd like to thank you once again for the presentation. As I say, the full presentation will be available for download very shortly on both of our websites. And on that note, I'd like to thank you all for attending today, and I wish you a pleasant afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.